You are now listening to
The Really Joe podcast. Really Joe. Really.
All right, so today we got Jon Cool. And I'm be honest, I really didn't know that your last name was Cool, but it's
Okay.
cool. But it's cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
So all right. So today we want to touch on. I really been trying to talk about this topic for a while, which is interracial dating. So
Yeah.
so I got John here with me today, who's he's experienced when it comes to interracial dating. You know, I've never dated anybody outside my race before, not because not because I don't find, other women attractive or things like that. I just don't know how to approach them, you know. Is it easy to approach someone from a different race, another woman, in your opinion?
I don't for me it wasn't. Well, technically I might be disqualified for this question because she and I met in 1994 on American Online, right? Like version 1 or something. And we met on a chat room, right? So that whole thing about what she looked like was a mystery until after, and then it didn't matter. Technically, she's older than I am by 6 months. But after that, it didn't bother me. And it doesn't bother me now.
Right.
She and I separated a while back, and I went through the dating phase after, you do after the marriage is over kind of thing. And it was free game. I lived in San Francisco. Now, when I lived in San Francisco, that was different. The Asian girls, very attractive, but their sense of community was weird. It didn't click with me, and I never was able to figure out. I wasn't able to figure it out in time because when I left, I came back here. That was about the time I figured it out. And there's not very many Asian girls here.
Right. What all different races of women have you dated before?
I was married to a black girl for almost 20 years. Dated a Native American / Polynesian in San Francisco for about 6 months. I went out with a Chinese girl a couple times, but like I said before, we didn't really mesh. There was something about it. It was weird. Not that she wasn't nice. I mean, she was super. We're still friends to this day, actually, but it was something weird. I don't know what I couldn't describe. I can't describe it actually.
Right. All right. So look, seeing the fact that so pretty much it's mainly been Caucasian women, and then your ex-wife that you've pretty much been with the majority of your life, probably.
Yeah. All
right. So let me ask you this: what did you love about your ex-wife? The black lady. What was it that you just really enjoyed about her?
Man, she was slamming hot, when we first got together when we were young, right? Back in the day. We were both 20. ish, 20-ish. And no, I mean, she had, this is going to sound weird because originally I liked her sense of family, which I didn't have at all. And yeah, in the beginning, her sense of family was super cool. I like that a lot.
Right. And then I'm guessing they just embrace you after a while. They probably was a little tough on you at first, huh?
Oh yeah. I remember the first time. Yeah, she has a big extended family. Her mom was one of the younger sisters in a set of 9 sisters and 1 brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I think her mom was the 3rd youngest or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a big family.
Right.
Spread all across the country. Some of them lived in town. 2 of them lived in town, and the next closest one lived in Dallas, the uncle.
Right.
And they would get together for Christmas, and man, they were drilling me. Some of the ones from out of town. One of them was a lawyer who lived in Charleston, West Virginia, and she was just like, "What are your plans for the future? What is?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm 24. I'm just trying to get by here, man. I'm trying to find a job in Texarkana, and I can't. It was, it was weird. It wasn't weird. It was super intimidating. But there were also a few, the younger ones, the youngest one. And I think the uncle was also like one of the younger ones as well. And those 2 caught on to me, or at least we meshed, And
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So what is it that you just really love about Caucasian women?
I don't, it's weird because I don't feel like there is anything like that. Like now I date probably the whitest girl known to man, physically. Lauren's an albino, so we went from one extreme to the other.
Right.
I guess it's normalcy in that, but not necessarily when I say that, not when I look at her or look in the mirror. The normalcy that I'm referring to is her family structure is similar to mine, or the one that I'm used to.
Right.
Not a big family. She has 2 sisters. Mixed family, parents divorced, so they have, step parents and stuff like that.
Right.
That's what I'm used to, right? My exes was not like that. Solid family, no everywhere. I don't think any of them had been divorced. None of them still are. Oh no, I take that back. One of them was and never remarried. Yeah, so just one. Right. And yeah, so I mean, I guess the idea that her family structure was more similar to mine, possibly.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you this. You say like with your ex-wife, you kind of like how family oriented they were. So coming from where you come, from your background, what about those cookouts? I know you had to love the cookouts, the dinners, that
they
she
scared
prepared.
the shit out of me. I was the only white guy there.
Yeah.
So No, they didn't. Yeah, you're right. The cookouts were good. Um, there was a lot of food. The food was weird from my perspective,
Right.
right? So, like, you know, what I'm used to, let's talk about Thanksgiving since it's coming up, right?
Mhm.
Now, in my opinion, what I'm used to for Thanksgiving is, you know, turkey, stuffing, not dressing. I didn't know what dressing was until I came down here. Mashed potatoes, right? Um, and then whatever, right? Green beans or corn or you know, stuff, right? And down here, oh, and pumpkin pie. I know, I know we have something about pumpkin pie, but that's what I'm used to.
Right.
And I came down here and I got rutabagas and greens, which I like, and chitlins, which I couldn't do it, and but also turkey and but not mashed potatoes and not pumpkin pie. I got
Sweet
pecan
potato.
pie and
Oh, you
sweet
got
potato.
pecan? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and sweet potato,
Yeah.
and which you know is fine, but it's not pumpkin. And I can, you know, it's you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
when I said what I was referring to in the beginning, when I said I was scared to death, was a family reunion, and I, I'd only been to it one time, and it was I don't even know why I went really because I wasn't my wife wasn't my ex-wife wasn't associated with this part of the family as much as the aunt that was also there. So on the aunt's uh, on her husband's side of the family were a couple of guys that played football. I want to say for St. Louis, uh, when the Rams were there, but I can't remember for sure. Anyway, there were some really large dudes there.
Mhm.
I mean, large. And I was like, wow. And there was a lot of, you know, there was a lot of people. Now, uh, I haven't been to a family reunion like that in a very long time. Um, when I was a kid, we used to have those. Um, and they were very similar. But for whatever reason, I guess because of our fractured families, you know, we stopped having them. Unless you count the vacation that you know our family would take as pretty much a whole. In the summertime we would go to the beach as a whole and spend a week there, and it was almost my entire family, extended family. But I hadn't been to a a family reunion like that in a very long time. And you know what, I think they're cool. Actually, I like them. I like them a
Right.
lot.
Right. All right. So, you know, I've talked to some people, you know, different races, right, that have dated black women. And some of them say that they hate the attitude, the sassiness, you know, and they feel like, you know, white women are more submissive. What's your opinion on that?
You know, I didn't have one that was as sassy as much. Um, she was super opinionated, but then you know, I guess uh, some people would say that I am more laid back. Um, so it didn't bother me. You know, opinion's cool. I like that. I like people with an opinion. You know, we can have a talk about it like we're doing right now, and I'm cool with that.
Right, right.
And I think where our fallings are where we had conflicts was when this conversation got out to other people in the family, right? And next thing I know, I'm at Thanksgiving talking to an aunt that I haven't seen in a year, and she knows all about me, right? like up to date, like stuff that happened yesterday.
Right.
And I'm not used to that, right? So that idea of, because I don't talk to anybody or call anybody, but she did. And I don't know if that's as much, a female thing as it is a black female thing. I don't know. Because I think, Lauren talks to her mom a lot too. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But, the things that I felt weird about when we first dated, I didn't realize that stretch of highway on 71 between Shreveport and Texarkana was so remote or something. 5 or 6 years later, I realized how dangerous it was, and not just because they travel fast on that road and it's a 2-lane road. Traveling back from, my aunt, I had an aunt that lived in Atlanta, and I traveled back from there, and or the beach, even that vacation spot, and I would be reluctant to stop with my ex in the car anywhere along that stretch of highway at night, for sure. Right. Those are the things that I noticed more when they were more prevalent.
Right. Well, that's kind of where I was gonna kind of go to next is, back in the 90s, interracial dating wasn't as, normal as it is now. So I'm sure there was a lot, on a couple, because I know you're gonna get looks everywhere you go from black people and white people,
Yeah.
So yeah, could you give us a little insight of what's that like when you're just minding your business with your lady, and everywhere you go, I'm sure people just keep, they give you the double take,
Well, so the double takes didn't bother me as much, maybe because I was just not looking for them, or I didn't care. There was one time that when the Kmart was still open in town, I was thinking about this just the other day. I don't even know why we were there, but we were all there, and she was trying to return something or use customer service or something. And the customer service woman would just flat out not, serve her. She just refused to acknowledge she existed. It was so bizarre, man. I mean, there was a line and everything. So people kept moving around her, and it was starting to get frustrating, and it was not one of my brighter moments, but it was a verbal confrontation, and of course we got escorted out, and that's fine. I don't like Kmart anyway. So,
right.
But that happened more often than I expected it to, which was a shame. Although I must admit, I got beat up one time just because I was with her, but not down here in Western Pennsylvania. It was once again, it was late at night. And we were coming home from my friends who lived in Philadelphia. We just took the turnpike across, and we're coming back. And, I lived at that time in a town called Bentleyville, which is southwest of Pittsburgh by, like an hour's drive, but really it's like 30 miles or less. Anyway, yeah, and this group of kids in a Mustang were and driving aggressively around our car, which was at the time was this escort station wagon, not an aggressive car. And finally I stopped, and I was thinking that, I'm tired of this shit, right? I'm gonna settle this. And for whatever reason, my ex said, lock the door. And it was one of those things where I was in a mode. And when she said that, it switched me into a different mode. And I was stunned for a second. So I'm like, yeah, lock the door. That makes sense. And it was like not even, where I was going with this at all. And, and that was a split second that it all fell apart. So I locked the door, and one of the dudes punched through the window and in process punched me too. But yeah, it was weird.
Right. Just for no reason though, right?
Right. We were just together. I guess they saw us at a stoplight or something. And then next thing I know, I have this car chasing me. Right.
Well, it's kind of funny that you say that, right? Well, it's not funny, but it's ironic because I used to work with a lady who she dated, it was a Caucasian lady. She dated a black guy, whatever. But I remember, I used to talk to her at work, and I'm like, look, man, this happened, that happened. And, me being a black man, I felt the way about it. And I felt like it could have been a little racism there, whatever. And she used to always say, oh, you're just being emotional, this, that, and the other. And then she had something happen to where when she got pregnant. And I remember one time she was passing out her baby shower invites, and she gave one to this older white lady, and she said, your baby daddy's black, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was just so me being me, I ended up telling her, like, I used to try to tell you this type of stuff that was going on, but you didn't happen to understand it until you see it firsthand. So now you can see what I was saying. So was that your first time, in that relationship, getting to see like some racism or possible racism firsthand?
Well, so there was when I grew up, when I went to high school, in a high school in Maryland, and it was by a military base. It was called Fort Ritchie. And if not for that military base, probably would have never seen a black person. Because prior to that, I went to school and lived in, I take that back. With the exception of the time that I lived in Carlisle, which I went to a school that had 2,000 students in it, kind of like Texas High. Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't remember how old you are. I played basketball on the gym at recess with Billy Owens, who went on to play in the NBA. But I mean, at the time, he looked like an adult compared to me. And did I say I played basketball? I mean, we were mm-hmm. on the court dribbling basketballs together, but that was about really all there was to it. But then that was the 7th grade. I don't know if I was aware of racism at that time. When I went to high school, going back to the high school in Maryland, there was racism there. That school was mostly agricultural, a bunch of farm boys and girls. Mm-hmm. Right. Small school. I think my graduating class had somewhere between 250 and 300 in it. And there was racism I was a runner back then on the track team.
So let me ask you this. Is it different seeing it from afar versus seeing it happen to somebody that you like care about and you're seeing it firsthand? And it's kind of, it's kind of like it's happening to you because y'all, if y'all are together,
Yeah.
Yeah, is it a difference between those two?
Yeah, I mean, when it happens, like when it happened to me, I mean, I felt like it was, I felt like it was, well, it was happening to me, right? So there was no denying it. This is happening, right? It was really difficult to explain away in a different manner, possibly, than what this could be. This is, racism, and I'm associated with this person. And so, the hate is going to be applied to me as well. And, I don't know. I really dislike people who tell me things like there's no privilege, or you know everybody has the same opportunities, and shit like that bothers me in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because of these events? It probably is. Unfortunately, I would probably suggest that, given the amount of time that I was with my ex, it probably steeped me a little bit more in that reality than I would have had I not been with that person. I would probably still be removed from it, right? And not feel as strongly about it.
Right. So, kind of end off, with touching on today and interracial dating today. And, especially seeing the fact that, that you have a child who is now, biracial.
Yeah.
So me, myself personally, I know it's a lot of people that's against interracial dating. I don't have a problem with it, but I'd be worried for those couples in that relationship, because it seems like most times, a lot of times it ends bad, in a very, very gruesome manner, a lot, to where somebody ends up beat up, or, somebody gets shot or stabbed, or somebody gets murdered, or murder suicide. And
Yeah.
of course, me being Black, I always be worried about the Black person in that scenario.
Yeah.
Because, even if the Black person is the person who caused all of the issues, or took it to a violent level, they get sentenced, probably worse,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
worse than the white person in that relationship would. So how do you feel seeing the fact that you have a child out here who's, biracial, and she's dating? And so pretty much anybody she's with is going to be a interracial couple, right?
Right. It's interesting that my observations as to how, my daughter interacts. So I have a daughter with my ex, but my ex had two other kids to two other people. The oldest is also a daughter named Ariel, and the middle child is a boy named Hastings. Right. Now the girls, they could pass as Caucasian, but Hastings can't.
Mm-hmm.
He looks brown, and it was interesting to see how he came up through the school system and how the girls came up. It was completely different. He wasn't catching the breaks that they caught. Yeah, that was interesting. But back to your question, so far it seems like my daughter Alyssa is doing fairly well. Now she's pretty fluid in who she dates. when I left to San Francisco, she was dating a black guy. And then when I came, obviously her baby daddy is a white guy. Ironically, the white guy treated her worse than the black guy did. And I think she dated an Hispanic girl in between there somewhere too. And that's what I was talking about when the fluidity happened. So I am kind of concerned about what you were mentioning, the violence. I experienced it a little bit when I was married with my ex. And oddly enough, the guy that she, baby daddy, was incarcerated. He's a felon for discharging a weapon at a kid's party that his kids were at his ex's, right? And because he discharged this weapon, he didn't actually shoot anybody or at anybody. He went to jail. And I was like, man, are you sure? Why are you dating this dude? But she liked him. This guy, obviously is not any different. He's the same guy he was, when he discharged that weapon as he is today. Just as crazy.
Right.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Oh yeah. Hey, any insight is a good answer, and they will let people take from it what they may,
Right.
And so it's one other thing that I want to touch on. I'm not sure if you experienced it like in your relationship with your ex, but to me, I can't do it. Like, even though I see plenty of white women that look great, all that, it's kind of like, I want to keep me and my race strong. And not to mention, I personally believe that mixed kids probably have the worst upbringing than, any other race, just because it's hard to fit in on either side,
Yeah. Now my ex would tell me that because she was mixed too. So her dad was white and her mom was black. So she would tell me that, she didn't really have a group to call her own. Now that was something that I really kind of didn't experience. I knew she didn't have a lot of friends, but I just assumed she didn't have a lot of friends because of her personality issues that she also had. And not because nobody wanted her in her group. I think, that was more about her not reaching out and maintaining a relationship as opposed to her not having an opportunity to maintain a relationship, which I think are different things. So it's interesting that you say that, when, that I went to school for psychology and I know a little bit about it. I know that when we select a mate, we're looking for people that have similarities, right? For the most part, which, what you stated is, basically why, people do choose the people that they choose, right? They're looking for similarities. They want to, this is a little bit about genetics, like back in the day, caveman days, we didn't have a lot of time to figure this out. We needed to get it done, procreate and move on because we were going to die soon, Right. So we looked for similarities and boom, that was the best match. Probably, right? The probability of me hooking up with another person who looks similar to me, has similar interests in me, is by far higher than, going against the grain and trying to make it work. And so we probably have that genetic material still affecting our decision making at this time.
Yeah.
You can. I used to do this little experiment and talk about it in my class, and girls that like guys, you can usually tell because they do certain things. Some of these things are really subtle, like their face will blush, their pupils will dilate if they're interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they'll turn to face you, right? And sometimes they'll even start mimicking your movements, which is really fun, especially if you're at a bar. Like if you'll do this, the girl will usually also do that, and then you do one of these, and they'll do this. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, but my point being is that here are these remnants of genetic behavior that got encoded in our brains from a long, long time ago and still relevant or existing today.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't I go that route? Well, like I said originally, maybe it's not fair to ask me because I met a person where we were all the same, right? I met somebody in a room that had no lights and no smells, no nothing. It was a chat room with, text. And
Right.
and then it was fine. It was, I was like, okay, cool. This is already working out. I'm going to go with it. And it was. And it did for a long time. But, your idea of, I can't do it. I totally buy that. I mean, that makes sense to me because it's just, it's just easier. What you know. Why not go with that? If you, go a different route, it's going to be more difficult, because swimming upstream is more difficult.
Right. And as I heard this comedian say this before. He said, "Hey, I only know how to kill what I know how to hunt."
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, it's a little different.
I don't know what he's killing. Maybe that's he's a booty hunter or something like that. I don't know. Right.
Well, look, hey, Jon, I know we got some, I know you have some more work that you had to do, but I do want to say I do appreciate you for sitting down with me, sharing some of your story of your life with me and, giving us some insight onto, about interracial dating. So I appreciate it greatly.
Oh yeah, no, man, I'm happy to talk about it, and I think it's important to talk about. You asked me at the beginning what I wanted to cover, and I really it was the topic about the Kmart and my boy having a harder time than my girls in school, so we covered it. And yeah, if you have any other topics you want to discuss, I'm somewhat well read. I
got you. Yeah. Hey, cool. Same thing for you. Hey, if you got any anything you want to talk about, hey, you want me to lend my opinion, hey, let me know. We can get together.
Cool. Yeah, I like this. This is cool.
All right. So hey, I appreciate you, Jon, for coming through. And until next time, people, we out.